Right. Well, let's kick things off with a couple of slides first of all, and then we're going to look at LinkedIn Live. Really, I suppose LinkedIn, it starts with your profile, and the most important thing I suppose to understand is there's two elements to LinkedIn. One is the network that you're going to build and that you're going to engage with. But ultimately, it's all about your profile. One of the things I do when I train clients and work with them, I said, look, let's get your profiles right first, because there's absolutely no point going out and connecting with others on LinkedIn if you're not dressed properly for business. So I think it's really important that we look professional. We recognize that LinkedIn is a professional platform, that we're not going to have Facebook photographs showing on the screen when people connect with us, and that we articulate the value that we can offer to clients really clearly. Now, what I'd like you to do right now using the chat facility, just a little exercise, because this will impact on really how you put together a LinkedIn profile. So once again, using the chat option on your screen, I'd like you to name the first thought that goes through your mind when someone you don't know sends you a LinkedIn connection request. And there's no personalized message. You don't know who this person is. It pops up. You haven't had even a full look at their profile at this point. What's the first thought that goes through your mind? Why? Absolutely right, Tony. Yeah, I think that's definitely the first question. And yeah, pretty well everybody. Why? Who are you? Yeah, absolutely right. I think these are all the sort of questions we're going to ask. I think there are a number of questions. You will probably relate to these. I'm going to show on the screen now. Why should I connect with you? I think you all pretty well said that straight away. What's in it for me? What's your motive? Do you understand me? Have you even looked at my business? I was chatting with somebody yesterday who said, they're involved in LinkedIn training themselves, and they received a connection request and then a message from someone offering to help them with their LinkedIn activity. I mean, clearly not taken a look at the profile, not done any background or research. So I think it's really important that you look at all these questions that are on the screen here, go back to your own LinkedIn profile and say, am I answering these questions satisfactorily when I invite someone to connect, whether I send a personalized invitation or not? And trust is going to play a pretty major part in the relationships that you develop on LinkedIn. LinkedIn profile, for me, is a little bit like a website in some respects in terms of it explains what you do. But ultimately, I think we have to be very clear how we solve challenges and problems and pain points for our clients. And what I mean by that is that if I look at maybe 90% of LinkedIn profiles, they often are written in a CV style. They explain some background about who the person is who's written the profile, how many years experience they've got. And really, unless you're going for a career position of some kind, that is not going to be relevant. I don't even think it's relevant actually if you are going for a career progression, because the person that you are engaging with is either going to take you on in a new role potentially, or they're going to want to use your services. Very early on, they're going to want to know, can you solve my problems? Do you understand my business, and can you solve my problems? So what are your customers' biggest pain points and issues that you help solve? And are they clearly articulated very quickly on your LinkedIn profile? Just give a little bit of thought to this just for a moment. I'd like to use the chat option once more, and I'd just like you to list the first 3 pain points that come to mind. Just one word will be absolutely fine, that you help solve for your clients. So if you're an accountant, what is it you do to help solve your clients' issues? If you're in media of any kind or PR, what is it you do? What are the top 3 things that you help solve for your clients? Just give me a couple of moments to drop that into the chat box there before we move on. Melissa, fantastic. So improve productivity, increase efficiency, give people more time back, give them more confidence to be able to articulate what they do and the ability to do that, make connections I've got there for people. So these are the things that you actually do for people. And what's important is that if we now go to LinkedIn Live, I'll just make sure that I change the screen share so that you can see my desktop. So what you should be seeing now is my LinkedIn profile. Please message me if you can't see that at all. Don't worry, otherwise we'll carry on. And when someone looks at my own LinkedIn profile, I'm hoping that very quickly in this headline information here, they're going to be able to understand what it is I do and the outcome that I help deliver for them. And when they read the first couple of lines of my summary section just below, that they're also going to be able to understand what it is I actually do. So where does it all start with your LinkedIn profile? Well, first of all, when you invite somebody to connect on LinkedIn and they respond, you get to see a very brief showing of their profile. Or if you appear in a set of search results, people are going to see a limited amount of information about you. So let me just do a quick search on the screen here and put a search term of director into LinkedIn and then filter those results to people. And what we'll see, some 20 million results appearing on my screen here, that I have a list of names that are showing. LinkedIn will display the list to me in order of relevance. All I have to go on when you invite me to connect, or if I come across your profile through a search, is your name and then this headline here. And if we take Sue as an example, who I'm connected with here, great photograph, I know her name, I know she's a director. The only clue I've got here is that she deals with events of some kind. I don't know what kind of events. So what Sue's got here, where her professional headline is her job title. So what happens when you create a LinkedIn profile and you go to your experience section and add your job title in, LinkedIn will automatically populate that job title in this headline. What you need to do is to come to the edit option here, and where it says headline, put in a headline that clearly articulates the value that you offer to your clients. Now, a quick tip very early on as you're starting to add text to your profile. LinkedIn functions as a search engine, a little bit like Google, but all within LinkedIn itself. Now, keywords play an important part, that people are searching online platforms, as I mentioned last week, including LinkedIn, to find the services that you offer. So it's really important that in your headline particularly, and further down in your current job role, in your experience section, much further down, which we're going to see when we edit in a moment or two, and also in your skills and expertise section, those are the three key areas where keywords that people might put into Google to find your services should be entered. Now, there's nothing to stop you putting keywords into other areas of your profile as well, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment or two. So, someone invites you to connect. You see that list that I showed you just a moment ago. You need a really strong headline that explains what it is you do so that people are motivated to click on your name and open up your profile. So that's the first starting point. Now, be aware that you're limited in terms of the number of characters you can add in this headline to 120 characters in total. Interestingly enough, when you edit your profile via the mobile device, it would seem that when you add a headline there, you have an increased number of characters. Why that would be, I don't know, but that does seem to be the case. So what else do people see when they first open up your profile? Well, they'll see the first couple of lines on desktop of your summary section. I'm going to go into some depth on the summary in just a moment or two. But once again, I'd suggest that your headline for your summary, which is in effect your marketing pitch, needs to again clearly articulate or ask some powerful questions of those people you want to do business with that prompts them to want to see more and click that link. Now, you can see on my screen here that there are a couple of lines, almost a couple of hundred characters of text that I can use, where I can add the question, do you need to attract more of the right clients? And also, are you using LinkedIn and social selling already? I'm putting some keywords in here to attract them. Is LinkedIn and social selling all a bit of a mystery to you? And then I put, since 2009, I've helped sales and marketing directors, etc. Now, you've got to read the rest now after that. But I just want to demonstrate something to you. If you bear with me a second on mobile. Hopefully, you can now see through the desktop my mobile phone showing on the screen. So do let me know if you have any issues in viewing that at all, but that should be clear to everybody on the screen now. Now, you should be able to see on the screen that the professional headline and the photographs display really, really clearly. And I'll come back to the photographs in just a moment. But you can see that the summary section only displays around about the first 50 characters. So what I'd suggest is, what is the key question or the key point, the pain point you deal with, that you feel should be included in those first 50 characters? And in creating your profile generally, what I'm going to suggest to you is that you're probably going to want to consider creating your profile so it manages mobile first, and considers desktop second. So what I mean is, read whatever you put together on a mobile device and say, is it easy to read? Can people see clearly the points that I want to get across to? Okay, what else is really important in this top section of your profile? Well, the photographs. I skipped over those a moment or two ago. Let's not underestimate photographs. LinkedIn is very clear in its terms and conditions that a personal LinkedIn profile should be a person, not a company. So technically, if you have a logo here, you're actually in breach of LinkedIn's terms and conditions. Now, how should your profile photograph look? Do you have to be suited and booted? No, I don't think so. I think what we should be able to see is a clear head and shoulders shot of you that's reasonably well lit. It's clearly you as you look at the moment, not 10 years ago. And it is dressed, or you are dressed, in a way that I would expect to see you if I met you. So, if that's a polo shirt or a t-shirt or and jeans, but smart casual, whatever it would be, that's absolutely fine. What we don't want to see is partner's arms cropped out from a wedding photograph, or you climbing up a mountain. It's just not appropriate. Now, the other opportunity you've got, I think you should really consider taking advantage of, particularly if you've got a team of people, is this cover photograph at the back here. Now, when I go into the edit profile option just here and come to the photograph, you can see that it recommends a size there in terms of pixels of just over 1500 by almost 400 pixels. If you've got a great shot of your business, or you've got someone who's a really good friend who's a graphic artist of some kind who can put a banner image together with your company's phone numbers on there or a key message, you've got a fantastic branding opportunity. And as I say, if you're part of a team and everyone in the team is happy to display this banner on their personal profiles, because do bear in mind these profiles belong to the individual, not the company, then you've got a great opportunity to brand your profile. And as you saw a moment or two ago, it looks really good on mobile devices as well. So photographs are really critical. Now, what else is important? I think without question, one of the key areas of your profile that you want to take a look at is going to be the summary section. And when I'm working with clients, I say to them, look, if nothing else, if you get your summary section, this section below the headline, sorted, that is job well done for me. Just before I do open that up, one point I've just suddenly realized I wanted to mention to you. It may have become evident to you since the changes to how LinkedIn looked from around about January of this year, that it no longer displays your industry sector around your location here. And yet when you go to edit your profile, it still asks you to enter the industry sector that you belong to. So for mine, it fits under professional training and coaching from the list that LinkedIn provides. It is important that you choose an appropriate industry sector. And although it doesn't, rather annoyingly, doesn't appear on people's profiles, which was usually a good measure for me to search for other people who were in that sector, it is important from a search point of view that if people are searching by industry, if you've not entered your industry, then you're not going to come up in their search results. So do make sure you've got the right industry selected, once again, from the edit section here, and then just scroll down to the industry sector and enter that information from a selected list there. Okay, let's move back to the summary section of your profile. I'm going to open this up fully now so we can see this on the screen. And the summary allows you to enter up to 2,000 characters of text. I don't necessarily suggest you need to use all 2,000, but do bear in mind that it needs to be reader friendly. My guidelines ordinarily on desktop are you shouldn't really have any more than 3 lines per paragraph. I've just broken my rule very slightly there. Use plenty of white space. Look at clever little ways maybe to highlight key titles, bearing in mind that you can't actually edit in terms of emboldening text or underlining or even changing the font in any respect at all. So by maybe copying and pasting a Word document symbol, or as you may have seen on my own profile in the headline, I use some emojis. Now, Google Chrome, for example, will offer a free extension with emojis. I actually entered that through my iPhone. A number of people are starting to use these rather colorful emojis to highlight areas of their profile. I think it works well. I think you've got to be careful. I think one or two people are overdoing it at the moment. Remember, this is still, seen as a professional platform. So what are the key aspects of a LinkedIn summary? What do you need to be aware of? One of the things that I do when I work with clients is I give them a document. I'm just putting on the screen here, a very basic template. And if anyone would like this template after today's session, please just drop me an email. I'll happily send you a copy of this. What I do is I break the summary section down into 6 individual areas to allow you to construct it. So as you've seen in the summary, there are not 6 individual areas. It's all one block of text. But the sections allow you to bring a little bit of structure. So section 1, for example, is the opening statement, 2 or 3 lines, bearing in mind the first 50 characters only going to be visible on mobile. What is the key message that you want to get across that will attract and engage the viewer of your profile and hopefully get them to want to read more? Paragraph 2, for example, what are the outcomes that you help deliver for your customers and how do you help them do this? And if you can include any tangible outcomes, which we'll look at in a moment, so much the better. Paragraph 3 is one of those paragraphs where you can explain what you and your company does and why you do it as well. And I'm not averse to suggesting that you use a paragraph that's very much a company statement. So at XYZ Consultants, for example, we do this. But what I do strongly recommend is that your LinkedIn summary is written in the first person. I think it has to be. It's about you connecting and engaging personally with people. And to see something copied and pasted from a website, it makes it very dry, very dull. There's no engagement there at all in the words. So do look at using the first person and I throughout most of the summary. As you can see here, section 4, I've suggested signposting the viewer to your experience section. I'll touch on that in a moment. The section 5 adds some personal information about you. I'll come back to that in a moment. And then finally, a call to action. So as I say, if anyone would like that, please email me after this session and I'll make sure I send you a copy of that. Now, if I come back to the key points that I mentioned a moment ago about the summary, those 6 sections, if you look at my profile, the opening headline of the summary is very much asking a question of the type of clients I want to work with, which we covered a moment or two ago. So what's your opening question going to be? I then add some credibility by explaining that since 2009, I've helped sales and marketing directors and business owners. I'm very clear who my target market is, and some might argue that that maybe then eliminates other people that I might be able to work with, and that is true. But I think in terms of your target audience, I think it's really crucial that we get some clarity about who are your ideal customers, because LinkedIn is quite a time-consuming tool, and it's not, in my opinion, going to be the platform that you'll use to engage with every single client. So who are the key people you'd really like to use LinkedIn to engage with? Name them in terms of the demographics so they're really clear that your profile is speaking to them. Now, as you can see in this paragraph, I've named not the company specifically, but types of firms where I've generated very specific, tangible outcomes. And again, if you are in a position to be able to do that, that's going to add a lot of credibility to your profile early on. So this is what I deal with very briefly. This is some examples of how I've helped others do that. I then break up the profile summary to explain what I do and why. And you can see that in terms of the work I do, there's not a long list of services and workshops and all those sort of things. It's pretty high level. Just a couple of short paragraphs, and I'll explain why in just a moment. I then list some of the types of clients I've worked with, so again, adding further credibility. You should also notice in my summary that the terms LinkedIn and social selling are scattered throughout the paragraphs as well to support and optimize my profile for keyword search. So again, what are the keywords that you should be adding to the text without just blocking out a list of keywords, which would look very untidy and not particularly professional. You'll also see that I'm making reference 2 or 3 times to the outcomes I deliver. So even in this paragraph that I explain, I'm helping you win more sales for your business. So keep majoring on the outcomes that you deliver. You can now see that this arrow suggests that the viewer should see my experience section below for more specific information about how I can help. Just momentarily, I'm going to move to the experience section. Now, I think if we're honest, most people are going to be time challenged. They're going to open up your profile, they're going to read the headline, they're going to read your summary, and they're possibly at that stage going to make a decision to connect or get in touch with you or accept your connection request. I don't think someone's going to sit there for 10 minutes and read your whole LinkedIn profile. It would be great if they did, but I think that's unreasonable. So what I've done in my experience section here, where there is the chronological list of my current and past job roles, is I've been much more specific about how I work with you if you're an individual, a small team, a larger team, and the structure of the training that I deliver. I've not put it in my summary because at this point, it's not that critical to people. People want to understand that you can deal with the issues and the challenges that they have. Once they believe that through the credibility you've added here at a high level, they are more likely going to want to know how you do that. And that's the thinking behind keeping the summary at a very high level. Now, as we move down the end of the summary, you can see that I've added some personal information. For any of you keen cyclists out there or anyone who gets annoyed with them down country lanes, yes, I am one of those people. But again, the personal touch is to humanize the profile. I've had lots of engagement with people who are keen cyclists, and that has helped build more trust in terms of the relationship with them and more openness in our dialogue. But as I say, I think it just humanizes the profile. So I'd highly recommend just adding a short paragraph in there. Finally, what is the call to action? What is it you want people to do? Do you offer, as I do, a free diagnostic call? And you can go to my contact information in the top right-hand corner of my profile to access all my contact details, which I've also added here. Or do you offer some other kind of consultancy, a free diagnostic tool, or a meeting or a free call to talk about your client's challenges? What is it you offer? Do you have a downloadable document of some kind that you could send to people? Once again, not everyone is going to read this and suddenly get on the phone to you or send you an email to ask for that. But I think it's really important that you signpost people continuously so they know what to do once they've read your profile. So that's your summary section. Most important piece of real estate, I think, really on your profile. You'll also notice that below the summary, I have 3 pieces of media. Now, media is something that we were able to add from about a couple of years ago. And media comes in a number of formats, and I'll show you the list that LinkedIn provides in a moment or two. But media is a video, which links to YouTube or Vimeo. It could be a PDF document that you've uploaded. It could be a slide presentation that you've uploaded. It could be a link to a blog. There are various different items of media that you can add that visually really make your profile stand out. But people, if they don't want to read all this text, can simply click on this image here. The video itself will open up in the screen here, or they can go to the original source. And all they have to do now is click on this. Sorry, I think I may have deafened everyone in the process there. Apologies for that. They can watch the video, maybe a promotional video of your company or a demonstration of the services you provide. Now, these are really easy to add. If I come back to the top of the profile and click on the edit symbol here, this is where you're going to edit all the top information, your photographs, By the way, when you edit a photograph these days, you can add all sorts of filters to change how you look and how the position of the photograph, just as you can do with tools such as Instagram. So there's lots you can do with the image. But if we come back to the edit here, scroll down past the headline, your current position here, and location and industry. Here's where you'll add the summary section. And here's where you upload a document, such as a PowerPoint presentation that you can add very quickly, and then a description to that. Or perhaps instead, what you want to do is you want to add a link to a video or a blog. And in that case, you add the link in here, add that to your profile. And where you see this supported format, this is where LinkedIn will take you to another page and show you all the different types of media that you can upload. But have you got some really good visual content that people could view, read, engage with, that would really help highlight and promote your business and the services you have to offer? If you are engaging regularly on LinkedIn and sharing posts and activity and writing articles, of course, this particular part of the profile sits very high up. And it's a great opportunity for you to display all your updates and content. And it's a great opportunity for you also to engage with other people. One of my strategies is to look at someone else's profile and go to their activity and see whether they've been involved in any public conversations today, or whether they've shared any posts or written any articles. If they have, it gives me a great opportunity to like, share, or comment on their articles. And quite often it's a way that I end up nurturing relationships with contacts on LinkedIn before actually sending them an invitation to connect. So just a little tip there. Don't always be quick just to invite someone to connect. Maybe there's a route where you can engage with them on their content, which they'll really enjoy. And then when you invite them to connect, you're not unknown to them any longer. So that can be a really important route. Now, as we scroll down the profile, we come to the experience section. You saw that a moment or two ago. And excuse me as I take a sip of water. This is where you're going to be a little bit more specific, remembering keywords still play an important part. You're going to be more specific about the services you provide. Once again, you can add media to your experience section. Just a little tip on the media for your experience section, by the way. In order to view the media on your summary, you do, of course, need to make sure that the viewer has clicked See More to open up your summary. Unlike the experience section, which is opened up fully on mobile and desktop, and they can see the media immediately. So I would definitely consider adding even duplicate media, possibly, to your experience section. Now, below, you can now see a list of my previous positions. And just a quick tip on this, I would certainly add in text here so it fills out the profile. Any keywords that are relevant with positions you had before that meet what you do today. It's a great opportunity to add more keywords here. But my guideline really is only add in any job positions that are relevant or add gravitas and support what you're doing now. Don't feel this is a CV and you've got to list absolutely everything. If there's a gap in your history, to be honest, no one's going to notice. So just look at whether the experience that you've listed supports what you're doing now and is relevant. As you move down the profile, you can add all sorts of things to your CV, such as any volunteer experience that you have. And then you have your skills and endorsements section. Now, this, I think, is a section that most people consider to be more relevant to recruiters than it is for any other user of LinkedIn. And I do sort of support that somewhat, but it is actually one of the most highly optimized areas of your LinkedIn profile. And what I mean by that is every time you add a skill to your profile, and you can add up to 50 in total, you add another strong element of keyword search ability to your profile, which means you're going to be found more easily. So my advice to you is this. You have the ability to add just here up to 50 skills in total. All you need to do is type in the skill. So if I type in marketing, for example, LinkedIn provide me with a whole list of skills that have the word of marketing in. So just choose the ones. It's a fairly quick exercise that are relevant to you and add them in there. If you type in a skill and it doesn't appear in a list, don't worry about it. Just add it. It's a new skill, in effect, you're adding to the list on LinkedIn, and it will display on your profile. So you just add this to the list. When you come to the skills, you'll see that it displays the top 3. And the top 3 are typically those skills that have received the most endorsements from other users. Now, what is an endorsement? Well, an endorsement simply means that if you've done a piece of work for me, I can come to your profile, see that you have skills listed here. I can open them up fully if I want to, just here. And then I can just click on your particular skill that I want to endorse you for, and that number increases. And it's a very quick exercise. It's a little bit like a Facebook-like, I suppose. Some people have questioned the validity and the value in it. But as I say, from an optimization point of view, it's really important. And in fact, the more endorsements you receive for a skill, the more highly optimized that skill actually becomes in search results. So there is a value there. When I come to edit just here in the top right-hand corner for the skills, you will see that the order, as I say, is displayed typically by those that have the most endorsements. Now, you can eliminate any endorsements if you so wish. But one thing you can do, if you click on the number, by the way, you can see the total number of endorsements. You can here reorder these particular skills so that LinkedIn, for example, which I've got fewer endorsements for than some of the others, now appears at the top of the list. Now, what that might well do now is, by moving that, encourage more people to endorse me for that skill when they view it. So just a little tip there in terms of how to manage by coming over to edit your endorsements. One of the last key areas of the profile that I really want to recommend that you take a look at is the personal recommendations, which is somewhat hidden away at the bottom of your profile. And it used to sit beneath each of your current or past job roles. Now, I've got to admit, I'm not a big lover of the fact that LinkedIn has hidden this away. So once again, you'll see in my profile summary and experience section that I've referenced, particularly in the experience section, that people should go to the lower part of my profile to view the recommendations. Now, recommendations are full written recommendations that you need to invite somebody who you are connected with to write for you. And I'll show you the process very briefly, quickly in a moment or two. These add a lot of value in my view, and people have often asked me, do people really read this? And I know a very large client, a logistics client I was working with not that long ago, where the global sales director had moved from that company to another company and invited me in to train his team. And during that training session with his team, we talked about recommendations, and someone asked the question about how important are they. And it was at that moment he explained to them something that I was unaware of, that in his previous role, he had actually picked up the phone to 3 people who'd recommended me on this section of my profile and called them to ask them about the work I'd done with them. Now, I had no idea about that. That had happened about a year or so previously. So don't underestimate the fact that people are reading your profiles and looking at the recommendations that are written there. Rather frustratingly with recommendations at the moment, we had, not that long ago, the opportunity to reposition the recommendations so that you could put the best ones, if you like, appearing at the top of the list. Now, that, for whatever reason, has been removed at the moment, so we're unable to move them. So people will have to scroll down, and they're shown in chronological order. But here's my advice for obtaining good quality recommendations. 2 routes you can go. Click on here if you want to be recommended. Now, who do you want to ask? You would type in, I'm going to choose somebody I know quite well. Let's choose Sally Roberts. As soon as I type Sally's name in, it appears here. Why does it appear? Because I'm connected to Sally. And you can only go through this process if you are connected with somebody. So I'd really encourage you to connect with all your clients. You then choose your current position. Once you've selected that, on a good day with a following wind, and if LinkedIn's behaving itself, you should be able to click next. And, I see what's happened. Sorry, I've missed the relationship out there. Any viewers at home would have seen that. Let's say Sally was a client of mine. I then click next, and I can type in a recommendation request to Sally. I'm going to show you a little bit of magic now, show you the typical recommendation request that I send to people. I'm using a clever little device that's available on mobile as an app and on desktop called a text expander. If you've never used them before, it's a way of sending very common messages that you can edit, that you send quite repeatedly, and just enter an abbreviation into the text or message box on an email or LinkedIn. And I can guarantee you will save yourself so much time by using a text expander to reply to invitations to connect or any common messages. So there's a little tip and an app for you there. So there's my typical message. I'll edit this to make it appropriate. And then I'll ask Sally to just say a few words about the content of the training I provided, the style it was delivered in, and how she feels the course would have helped enhance her business. So again, when asking for a recommendation request, most people are really happy to provide one. They sometimes just don't know what to say. So help them a little bit by maybe sending them a message that explains to them what you'd like them to say. Some of the best ones I've received, of course, are where someone's emailed me and said, look, can you just email me with what you'd like me to say, and I'll paste it in there. They've actually been, without question, the best ones there. One other route to ask someone to provide a recommendation for you, and that is to open up the person's profile. Let me open up Erica's profile here. Most of you will be familiar with the fact that when you open up someone's profile in a browser such as this, 3 grey dots appear here. I've now moved them from the looks of it to just here on the right. Here we go. It's more now. There we are, Steve. Pay attention. Keep up. Number of things I can do with Mark's profile. One of them is to request a recommendation, and that takes you through the same process once again. My final tip really on recommendations is that I will very rarely just send a recommendation request straight from LinkedIn. I will ordinarily have had a conversation with them first, and then that might be on the telephone or face-to-face, and then send them a connection request. So in summary, as we come to the last 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll open up for any final questions. Just want to thank you for joining me today. But the actions I'd recommend is look at your LinkedIn profile, look at that branded header image, and include a professional-looking head and shoulders profile photograph. Look at the headline that's limited to 120 characters and say, what should my strapline read that gets across in a very limited amount of text how I help people achieve their goals? From the summary, make sure it's very outcome focused, that you evidence your successes, explain your why do you do things, and who are you personally as well to humanize the profile, and make sure there's a clear call to action. And finally, look at recommendations and connect with your clients and ask them to recommend you. They're certainly the key areas of your profile that I would recommend. Folks, we're at the last couple of minutes already. That went by pretty rapidly. If anyone has any questions, now's the moment just to add them into the chat message. However, if you have any questions post the session, drop me an email. As I say, I'll happily send you that template as well for the summary section. So yeah, I'm just waiting on the chat to see if there are any final questions there. If not, all right. How do you add symbols into your profile? One is to say just a copy and paste from a Word document symbol. But in Chrome, if I just show you in Chrome, go to more tools, you should be able to see I'm going to extensions here. And one of the extensions that I can enable is emojis for Chrome. And what that means is now when I come to my profile, if I want to edit, for instance, my headline, as a quick example, I can come to now the emoji icon showing in the top right hand corner, and that gives me the list of emojis just loading here. I can take a smiley face as an example and just copy that and then just come over here and paste that into there. So it's as simple as that. And there are apps. One's called Text Expander by a company called Smile, which is an iOS app. Allows you to, that's the Text Expander app. But any of the emojis, on your mobile or Android phones, you can add in just the same way and edit the profile via your mobile device. How frequently do you suggest, great question. How frequently do you suggest refreshing your profile? Thanks, Joe. You know what? I do tinker with my summary every so often. I think when you get it to a level you're really happy with, I think we should probably stop tinkering. But things change, don't they? And the great thing about LinkedIn is it's fairly fluid. Certainly refreshing it will increase the visibility of your profile online. So even if it's just an odd paragraph now and then that you change, I think it's certainly worth doing that. Of course, if your business changes in any way or the nature of your clients, then I think that's a great opportunity also to update your profile. But, is it worth changing your profile if your business is seasonal? Yeah, I think I've probably answered that in a way just with the last point. If things change in your business, the great thing about LinkedIn is, unlike your website, you can just go in there and change it. And I think, maybe copy what you've done already, certainly in terms of your summary, and keep it on a Word document so that if next season you want to just republish what you had the season before, you're not thinking, well, what did I write back then? Because you'll lose it. So certainly I would suggest doing that for sure. Is there a recommended video length? Yeah, I think generally these days, if your videos are getting much longer than about 90 seconds, people start to lose interest. So I think that is a good level. Getting it to sort of anywhere between 30 to 90 seconds is a good length for a video. How often should you post on LinkedIn? Sharing updates and posts is marketing, in my view. It's hard to overdo it when you share an update or a post. And from my particular profile, for example, with the help from Heather, who's in my team, because I can't be doing this all the time, there can be anywhere from 10 to 15 updates a day going from my particular profile, or different, of course, different types of content and messages, but landing in the newsfeed of my connections. And a lot of people say that seems a lot, but if you consider that people are going to be logging on at different times of the day through LinkedIn, and at most they're going to see one or two posts from me. So it's unlikely that I'm going to take up their newsfeed, particularly if they're well connected there. The simple message there in terms of how often is, the more often you're visible, the more people will find you. Okay, folks. Well, please, as I say, feel free to email me. I hope that's been a useful session. Thanks very much for joining me this morning.